they're of things that could happen one day. A woman could be looking at a young child in the face. Nothing crazy about this. This isn't fantasy. And based on the title, Destiny's Gift, and the illustration, I will completely agree that this is realistic fiction. A story thought up in the author's head. Okay? Good. So, as we read, we're going to follow on clues. We're going to fill out a T-chart for each of the characters in this story. And we're just going to analyze what the character does and answer some questions. I'll be asking you to do some turn and talk throughout. Okay, turn to the first page. My favorite place in the world was Mrs. Wade's bookstore. Across the street from my house. Mrs. Wade knew everything there was to know about words, and I loved words. I went over to Mrs. Wade's every Tuesday and Saturday. As soon as I walked into the store, the wind chimes above the door tickled a special hello. Hey there, Destiny, Mrs. Wade would call out and stop whatever she was doing to give me a big hug. She smelled like flowers and peppermint and had a long silver dreadlocks that fell to her waist. What's the word? Mrs. Wade would ask. So far, how do you think Destiny and Mrs. Wade are alike? How do you think they are alike, Darius?
They both like seeing each other.
They both like seeing each other. What else, Valentine?
They both like words.
They both like, would you say like words?
Love words.
I would even go as far and say they love words. That's exactly what they said in the story. Shemaya?
They both probably love reading too.
They both love reading. Look at the illustration. What can we gather about the story from the illustration? When we think about that setting, characters, what can we get from the illustration alone and the words we've read so far? Mackenzie?
They both have hair. Wait, what?
The setting.
They both are in the library.
Is it a library though? Let's be more specific. Is it a library? Kayla, what is it? It's a bookstore. Very different. A library and a bookstore are very different settings, correct?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a library and a bookstore? Rihanna?
In a library, you have to be silent.
Well, yeah, I mean, your library, you're expected to be silent. What's another difference, Demonte?
The library has computers.
Libraries have computers. Bookstores usually don't. What's another difference, Keviana?
And to get a book at the bookstore, you can buy it, but to get a book at the library, you go to the library.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking about. So at a library, you go and check books out. You take them home. You're expected to bring them back. At a bookstore, you buy them. You take them home. They are part of your own personal collection. Okay, look at the next page. Let's go find out, I would say. We rush over to the big, thick dictionary Mrs. Wade kept on a pedestal in the store. I close my eyes, open the dictionary, and point. Whatever word my finger landed on was our word for the day. Mrs. Wade always helped me with words I didn't understand. She sounded out each word and picked it apart like a puzzle. I knew all there was to know about the word. I wrote down everything in my notebook, which I carried everywhere I went. Turn. When I wasn't writing words, I was reading them, gobbling them up from the pages of the books as if they were candy. Is that what she really does?
No.
No, that's figurative language that the author's using to put a picture inside your head on how much she really loves reading words. Okay? Mrs. Wade always gave me new books to read. She even introduced me to real authors who came to read their books at her store. I like to talk to them because they love words just like I did. That's how I decided I wanted to become a writer when I grew up. So what does the sentence "gobble up like candy" tell us about Destiny? Shemaya?
That she reads a lot and she loves it. Like, she can't just stop reading.
So how does Mrs. Wade influence Destiny as a character? So if Destiny just never went anywhere, I think she would act completely different as a character than if she didn't have Miss Wade in her life. Jasmine?
Miss Wade is like her teacher.
Give me more. Miss Wade's like her teacher. Give me more.
She like helps her with she doesn't understand, and then that's how Destiny decided she wanted to be a writer.
Exactly. I want you, oh, I see a lot of agrees. I want you to visualize what it looks like if somebody just gobbles words up on the page versus somebody who doesn't quite like how to read. Can you see the difference in your mind of those two characters? Okay, look at the next page.
Because the teacher and the tutor is basically the same thing. The teacher and the tutor helps you with work, but a teacher teaches you with school, and the tutor teaches you outside.
Okay, so Dakari was mentioning that Jasmine could have added that Mrs. Wade could also be a tutor, someone else who also teaches you outside of school. So that's another word and another occupation that you can connect. Very good. On Saturdays, Mama and Daddy let me stay at Mrs. Wade's until closing. I helped Miss Wade around the store. I watered the plants and fluffed the big, comfy pillows that people could curl up and read on the floor. Then Mrs. Wade and I would put the new books on the shelves. Sometimes I opened a book, stick my nose in between the pages, and take a big whiff. Ew. It smelled like ink and grass and old clothes in my granny's closet. The crisp paper felt like autumn leaves between my fingers. I love how this author writes because everything that she writes, I can actually see it going on in my head. If she just said that the pages felt crisp, I'm like, okay, papers, all right, pages, okay. But she said that they felt crisp like autumn leaves between my fingers. Do you know how autumn leaves, because once they fall off the ground, they turn colors, they're nice and crispy? Yes. And that's the picture that I see in my head. So this author really writes with a lot of Okay, turn the page. Very vivid language. Yes.
What's a whip?
Oh, what's a whiff? Somebody, watch. Everybody take a whiff. You know what a whiff is now? Okay. Next page. The part I liked best about these Saturdays was the end of the day. After all the customers had gone, Mrs. Wade would set up a tray with peppermint tea and butter cookies, the kind with a hole in the middle. We would drink our tea and pretend the butter cookies were diamond rings around our fingers. Then I would read to Mrs. Wade from my notebook. She'd listen to my stories and poems with her eyes closed. I imagined I was a famous author reading to a room full of people. Sometimes after I finished reading, Mrs. Wade would open her eyes and say, "Words are a powerful gift." I wasn't sure what she meant, but I felt very important indeed. I want Peanut Butter to tell Jelly. I want Peanut Butter to tell Jelly what you think she meant, what Mrs. Wade meant by words are a powerful gift. Peanut Butter explain to Jelly. Teach.
Okay.
Want Jasmine to explain the conversation she's having with Mackenzie.
So what Mackenzie said is that you speak words, you say words, you read right there. But I said, what if you can't speak words? she said you can still say them. And I was going to say before you stopped it, there's also something called sign language that you use to say words.
Okay. Let me try to paraphrase what was going on. So Mackenzie was saying, like, words are powerful because you say them, you read them, they're just everywhere, so they impact your lives in a meaningful way, right? So Jasmine added on, what if you can't say them? And I think that's really powerful because many people that can't hear, if people are saying words, that's not as meaningful to them, but you still connect to them by using something like sign language, which is a huge gift to a person who cannot hear. Woo, gotta give me chills in here. Okay, turn back in. Really quick, I want to update the T-chart. Okay, so this is the things that I kind of noticed about understanding characters. You know, right now I'm going to do it for you, but tomorrow you're going to do it on your own. So Mrs. Wade, I realized that she likes smelling flowers and she likes the smell of peppermint. I noticed that she has long silver dreadlocks. I noticed that she has a bookstore. I noticed that she loves to read. What I noticed about Destiny is that she also loves to read. She also likes to be at the bookstore. I noted that she said she wanted to be a writer when she grows up. I have a feeling that that might come back up later on in the story. Okay? Look at the next page. Oh, I really want you to notice that illustration. How is Mrs. Wade feeling when Destiny is reading to her? How do you think she is feeling at that moment? No, I heard you so much. You're talking so much. I love it, but you're talking so much. Jalen, I haven't heard from you.
I think Miss Wade is feeling calm while Destiny's reading too.
I agree with calm. Do we have any more feelings right now? Emotions, we're talking. Character emotions. Calm. What else, Shemaya? Add
I
on.
would say that I like to add on that Mrs. Wade is also feeling proud of her because all of the stuff she wrote.
Right. I also agree with that. Have you ever done something and your older siblings or your parents or your grandparents did something and they were so proud, they were just like,
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, turn to the next page. Class.
Yes.
Pointers. Then one Saturday, everything was different when I got to Mrs. Wade's store. Instead of talking to her customers or unpacking new books as usual, Mrs. Wade was reading a letter and looking very sad. She put away the letter and smiled when she saw me, but I could tell she wasn't her usual cheerful self. Later, while we had our tea, Mrs. Wade told me what was wrong. She took my hands in hers and we sat with our knees touching. So much different, right? She went from being very proud and calm the day before. This day is a different feeling for Mrs. Wade, right? Describe Mrs. Wade's mood and tone and feelings now. Corey?
What I'm going to say is she feels I'm not going to say second, that's not a really strong word.
Okay, so you're saying sad's not a really strong word, so let's help Corey come up with a word that's not sad. Not sad, but call someone for help. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Miss Wade feels disappointed.
In something, right? I would say disappointed because disappointed is a good word because she clearly read something. She clearly read something that she was disappointed about. Let's read on and find what that was. Pointers. Have you ever had a really tough assignment in school, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to figure it out? She asked. I nodded. Math problems were always like that for me. Why do you think Mrs. Wade uses an example like Destiny trying really hard at her homework and not quite getting it as an example?